Chapter 1. The storm's fury, Elara Voss clutched the steering wheel of her battered old Jeep, her knuckles white against the cracked leather. The rain hammered down like a relentless assault, turning the narrow forest road into a treacherous river of mud and debris. She'd been driving for hours, fleeing the suffocating grip of her old life in the city, a life shattered by betrayal. Her fiancé, Marcus, had left her at the altar 3 months ago, not for another woman, but for the freedom of his own selfish dreams. "I can't be tied down, Elara," he'd said, his voice cold as he packed his bags. The humiliation had burned, but it was the loneliness that followed, the echoing emptiness of her apartment, that had driven her to this impulsive escape. She'd quit her job as a graphic designer, sold most of her belongings, and headed north to the remote town of Silver Ridge, nestled in the dense evergreen forests of the Pacific Northwest. A fresh start, she told herself. A place where no one knew her name or her failures. But now, as thunder cracked overhead and lightning illuminated the twisting pines, Elara wondered if she'd made a fatal mistake. The GPS on her phone had lost signal miles ago, and the storm had turned the world into a chaotic blur. Her headlights pierced the darkness, revealing only sheets of water and fallen branches. She slowed to a crawl, heart pounding, when suddenly, a flash of movement caught her eye. A small, dark shape darting across the road. She slammed on the brakes, the Jeep fishtailing on the slick surface. The vehicle skidded to a halt just inches from what looked like a wolf pup, its fur matted and soaked, eyes wide with terror. It stood frozen in the beam of her lights, trembling, before letting out a pitiful whine that cut through the roar of the rain. "Oh no, you poor thing," Elara murmured, her breath fogging the windshield. She wasn't an animal expert, but she knew wolves weren't common this far south, or were they? Silver Ridge was known for its wildlife, but this pup seemed too young to be out alone. It limped slightly, favoring one paw, and as another bolt of lightning lit the sky, she saw why: a gash along its flank, blood mixing with the rain. Her instincts kicked in, the same ones that had always made her the fixer, the caretaker, even when it cost her. Marcus had called it her fatal flaw, always putting others first. But right now, in the middle of nowhere, she couldn't just drive on. She grabbed her raincoat from the passenger seat, pulled the hood over her dark curls, and stepped out into the deluge. The cold hit her like a slap, water soaking through her jeans in seconds. She approached the pup slowly, hands outstretched. "Hey, little one. It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The pup backed away, ears flattened, but it didn't run. Up close, it was even smaller than she'd thought. Maybe only a few months old, with striking silver fur that gleamed unnaturally in the storm's flashes. Its eyes, a piercing amber, locked onto hers, and for a moment, Elara felt an inexplicable pull, like a thread tugging at her soul. She shook it off as adrenaline. "Come on, let's get you out of this mess." She scooped the pup up gently, ignoring its weak snap of protest. It was lighter than expected, but warm against her chest, its heartbeat frantic. As she turned back to the Jeep, a low growl echoed from the trees lining the road, a sound that sent chills down her spine unrelated to the cold. She froze. Out of the shadows emerged a massive shape, larger than any dog she'd ever seen. A wolf, its coat a deep charcoal gray streaked with black, muscles rippling under wet fur. Its eyes glowed with the same amber hue as the pup's, but fiercer, more commanding. It stalked forward, lips curled back to reveal sharp fangs, the growl deepening into a warning rumble. Elara's pulse skyrocketed. This had to be the mother or father? She couldn't tell, but the protective stance was clear. "Easy," she whispered, backing toward the Jeep. "I'm just trying to help. Your baby's hurt." The wolf paused, head tilting as if assessing her. Lightning cracked again, and in that split second, Elara swore she saw something human in its gaze. Intelligence, calculation, maybe even pain. But that was impossible. Wolves weren't like that. The pup whimpered in her arms, nuzzling closer, and the large wolf's growl softened. It took a step forward, then another, its massive paws sinking into the mud. Elara's mind raced. She couldn't outrun it, not with the pup. Her only option was the Jeep, She edged backward, one hand fumbling for the door handle, but the storm had other plans. A deafening crack split the air as a nearby tree, weakened by the wind, gave way. Branches hurtled toward her like spears. Elara dove to the side, curling protectively around the pup as the world exploded in chaos. Pain lanced through her shoulder as a branch struck her, and she hit the ground hard, mud splashing up around her. The pup yelped, scrambling free, but Elara's vision blurred from the impact. Through the haze, she saw the large wolf leap forward, not at her, but toward the falling debris. It barreled into the thick of it, a blur of fur and fury, shoving aside branches with unnatural strength. One massive limb pinned its leg momentarily, but it shook free with a snarl, turning its gaze back to her. Elara tried to stand, but dizziness overwhelmed her. Blood trickled from a cut on her forehead, mixing with the rain. The wolf approached, its amber eyes locked on hers again, and this time, there was no mistaking the concern in them. It nudged her gently with its muzzle, warm breath against her skin, urging her up. "What? Are you?" she whispered, her voice weak. The wolf let out a soft whine, almost like an answer, then glanced at the pup, who had limped to its side. Together they seemed to wait, as if deciding her fate. Elara's world tilted. She reached out a hand, fingers brushing the wolf's wet fur, soft, surprisingly so. A spark jumped between them, like static electricity, but deeper, warmer. It coursed through her veins, chasing away the cold for a brief moment. The wolf stiffened, eyes widening, before it backed away slightly, shaking its head as if confused. Thunder rolled again, and Elara's strength gave out. Darkness crept in at the edges of her vision. The last thing she saw was the wolf shifting closer, its form blurring in the rain, as if... Changing? No, that couldn't be. Hallucinations from the head injury, she thought dimly. But as unconsciousness claimed her, she felt strong arms, not paws, lifting her from the mud. Human arms, muscled and warm, cradling her against a broad chest. A deep voice rumbled through the storm, laced with urgency and something like awe. "Hold on, little one. I've got you." Elara's mind screamed that it was impossible, but her body surrendered to the safety of that embrace. Who was he? How had he appeared? Questions swirled as blackness took her, but one thing lingered. That inexplicable pull, like fate itself had woven their paths together in this forsaken storm. When she woke, it was to the crackle of a fire and the scent of pine. She lay on a worn couch in a rustic cabin, blankets tucked around her. Her shoulder throbbed, bandaged neatly, and the cut on her forehead stung. The storm still raged outside, wind howling against the windows. She sat up slowly, scanning the room. Log walls, a stone fireplace, simple furniture. No sign of the pup or the wolf. But across from her, in a shadowed armchair, sat a man. Tall, broad-shouldered, with tousled dark hair and a jawline sharp enough to cut glass. His eyes, those same piercing amber, watched her intently, a faint scar running along his cheek. "You're awake," he said, his voice a low timbre that sent shivers down her spine. "Good, I was beginning to worry." Elara's heart skipped. "Who are you? What happened?" He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his presence filling the room like a predator in repose. "Name's Ronan Kane. Found you on the road during the storm. You took quite a hit protecting that cub. The pup." She glanced around. "Where is it, and how did you find me?" Ronan's lips quirked in a half-smile, but his eyes held secrets, guarded and deep. "The cub's safe, resting in the back. As for me, I live nearby." "Heard the crash." He paused, studying her. "What's your name, stranger?" "Elara Voss," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. There was something about him, magnetic, dangerous. The way he moved, fluid and powerful, like the wolf from her memory. He nodded, rising to pour her a mug of something hot from a kettle on the fire. "Welcome to Silver Ridge, Elara. Looks like the fates decided you needed a detour." As he handed her the mug, their fingers brushed, and that spark ignited again. Electric, undeniable. Ronan's eyes darkened, a flicker of surprise crossing his face before he masked it. Elara sipped the herbal tea, warmth spreading through her, but questions burned brighter. Who was this man, really? And why did being near him feel like coming home, or stepping into a trap? Little did she know the storm had only been the beginning. Ancient secrets lurked in these woods, and Ronan Kane was at the heart of them. A king among wolves, bound by a curse that could either save her or destroy them both. Chapter 2. Shadows in the cabin. Elara's fingers tightened around the warm mug, the herbal tea Ronan had given her steaming gently in the dim light of the cabin. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting flickering shadows across the wooden walls, but it did little to dispel the chill that had settled in her bones. Not from the storm, but from the man sitting across from her. Ronan Kane. His name rolled through her mind like thunder, unfamiliar yet somehow resonant. He lounged in the armchair with an effortless grace, his broad frame filling the space, but there was a tension in his posture, like a coiled spring ready to unleash. She studied him discreetly over the rim of her mug. His dark hair was still damp from the rain, curling slightly at the ends, and his amber eyes, those unnervingly familiar eyes, held a depth that made her uneasy. Scars marked his skin, the one on his cheek, faint but jagged, and others peeking from the collar of his flannel shirt, as if he'd fought battles she couldn't imagine. He was handsome in a rugged, untamed way, the kind that belonged to the wilderness rather than the polished world she'd left behind, but something about him felt off. Too alert, too intense, like he was listening to sounds she couldn't hear. "Thank you," she said finally, breaking the silence, "for pulling me out of the mud. I don't know what would have happened if—" "You'd have managed," Ronan interrupted, his voice a low rumble that vibrated through the room. He leaned back, crossing his arms over his chest, the muscles shifting under his shirt. "You're tougher than you look, Elara Voss. Not many would stop in a storm like that for a stray cub. The pup." Her gaze darted around the cabin again, taking in the sparse furnishings. A worn rug, a bookshelf crammed with old tomes on folklore and nature, a kitchenette in the corner with herbs drying from the rafters. No sign of the little silver-furred creature. "Where is it? You said it was safe." Ronan nodded toward a door at the back of the room, resting. The wound wasn't deep, just a scratch from some thorns. "It'll heal quick." He paused, his eyes narrowing slightly. "You risked your life for it. Why?" Elara shrugged, wincing as the movement tugged at her bandaged shoulder. "It was alone, hurt. I couldn't just leave it there." Memories of her own abandonment flickered. Marcus's parting words, the empty apartment echoing with her sobs. She'd been left behind too many times. She wouldn't do that to anyone, even an animal. Besides, I've always had a soft spot for underdogs. Or underwolves, I guess. A ghost of a smile tugged at Ronan's lips, but it didn't reach his eyes. Wolves aren't underdogs here. They're survivors. He stood abruptly, moving to the fire to add another log. The flames roared up, illuminating his profile, and for a split second, Elara swore she saw his eyes reflect the light like an animal's, glowing faintly before he turned away. She blinked, dismissing it as a trick of the fire. "You live out here alone? Silver Ridge isn't exactly a bustling metropolis." Ronan poked at the embers, his back to her. "Suits me. The town's a few miles down the road, close enough for supplies, far enough for peace." He glanced over his shoulder, his expression unreadable. "What about you? Driving through a storm like that, you running from something?" The question hit too close. Elara set the mug down on the side table, her hands fidgeting in her lap. "Running to something, maybe. A fresh start. City life got complicated." She didn't elaborate, but the weight of her past pressed on her. The wedding that never happened. The friends who pitied her. The job that felt like a cage. Silver Ridge was supposed to be her escape, a place to rebuild without the ghosts. Ronan turned fully now, leaning against the mantel, his arms crossed again. "Complicated how?" His tone was casual, but there was an undercurrent of genuine curiosity, as if he could sense the pain she tried to hide. She met his gaze, that pull from earlier stirring again, like an invisible thread drawing her in. "Betrayal, the kind that makes you question everything." Her voice softened. "You ever feel like that? Like the world's stacked against you?" Something flickered in his eyes. Regret? Pain? He looked away, staring into the fire. More than you know." His voice was quieter now, laced with a raw edge. "I've lost people, things that can't be fixed." He straightened, shaking off the moment like a dog shedding water. "But dwelling on it doesn't help. Survival means moving forward." Elara nodded, feeling a strange kinship in his words. He was guarded, just like her, walls built high from whatever scars he carried. Yet being here in this cozy cabin amid the howling wind felt oddly safe. "How did you find me so fast? One minute I was alone with the wolves, the next—" Ronan's jaw tightened imperceptibly. "I was out checking traps. Heard the tree fall." He moved to the kitchenette, pulling out a loaf of bread and some cheese from a cupboard. "You hungry? Storm's not letting up anytime soon. Might as well eat." She was, surprisingly. As he sliced the bread with a knife that looked handmade, Elara pushed herself up from the couch, testing her legs. They wobbled a bit, but held. She joined him at the small table, the proximity making her aware of his scent. Pine and earth, with a hint of something wild, musky. It was intoxicating, stirring feelings she hadn't expected. They ate in companionable silence at first, the storm raging outside like a beast at the door. But as the minutes ticked by, conversation flowed easier. Ronan asked about her life in the city, her art, her dreams, and she found herself opening up, sharing stories of late-night sketches and the freedom she craved. In return, he spoke of the forest, the hidden trails, the way the moon lit the canopy on clear nights, the ancient legends of the land. "Legends?" Elara prompted, intrigued. "Like what?" He hesitated, his knife pausing mid-slice. "Old tales. About guardians of the woods. Beings that shift between man and beast. Bound by the moon, tied to bloodlines." His eyes met hers, intense. "Some say they're cursed, destined to find a mate that completes them. Or destroys them." A shiver ran down her spine, not from fear, but from the way he said it, as if it were personal. "Sounds romantic, or tragic." "Both," he murmured, his gaze lingering on her a beat too long. That spark ignited again when their hands brushed passing the cheese, warmth flooding her veins. Ronan pulled back quickly, clearing his throat. "You should rest. Your shoulder needs it." But sleep was the last thing on her mind, as he showed her to a small guest room, simple bed, quilt smelling of lavender. She couldn't shake the feeling that he was hiding something. The pup was in there, curled on a blanket in the corner, its silver fur rising and falling with steady breaths. It lifted its head as she entered, amber eyes meeting hers with that same pull. "Good night." "Ronan," she said at the door, her heart inexplicably racing. "Night, Elara." He paused in the hallway, his frame silhouetted by the firelight. "Stay inside tonight. The woods, they're not safe after dark." The warning hung in the air as he closed the door. Elara settled under the covers, the pup's soft whimpers lulling her, but her mind raced. Who was Ronan, really? And why did his presence feel like destiny knocking? Hours later, she woke to a sound, a low growl from outside. Peering through the window, she saw shadows moving in the trees, eyes glowing in the dark. And Ronan, standing on the porch in the rain, his form tense, as if communicating with whatever lurked beyond. Her breath caught. He turned his head slightly, and in the moonlight his eyes shone amber bright, not human. Not entirely. Suspicion bloomed in her chest, mingling with an inexplicable draw. What secrets did this man, this possible monster, hold? And why did her heart whisper that she was meant to uncover them? As dawn crept in, Elara knew one thing. Leaving this cabin might be harder than arriving. The storm had passed, but a new one was brewing inside her. A tempest of curiosity, fear, and something dangerously close to desire. Chapter 3. Whispers of the Moon. The first rays of dawn filtered through the cabin's curtains, painting the guest room in soft gold. Elara stirred under the quilt, her body aching from the night's ordeal, but her mind was sharp, replaying the shadowy scene outside the window. Ronan's silhouette on the porch, those glowing eyes in the trees, the way he stood as if commanding the darkness itself. It had to be a dream, a remnant of the concussion, but the unease lingered like fog in the forest. She glanced at the pup, still curled in the corner on its blanket. It had stirred during the night, limping over to nuzzle her hand before settling beside the bed. Now its amber eyes blinked open, watching her with an intelligence that unnerved her. "What are you looking at, little one?" she whispered, reaching down to scratch behind its ears. The fur was soft, almost silky, and as her fingers connected, that familiar spark tingled through her, a warmth that spread like honey in her veins. The pup leaned into her touch, letting out a contented sigh. A knock at the door jolted her. "Elara, you up?" Ronan's voice, muffled but warm. "Yeah, just a minute." She swung her legs over the side of the bed, testing her shoulder. The bandage held. The pain dulled to a throb. She opened the door to find him standing there, holding a tray with coffee and toast, his dark hair tousled as if he hadn't slept. His flannel shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, revealing more of those faint scars, and his amber eyes searched her face with concern. "Thought you might need this," he said, stepping inside to set the tray on a small table by the window. "How's the shoulder?" "Better than expected. Your bandaging skills are impressive." She sat, pouring cream into the coffee, watching him from under her lashes. He moved with a predator's grace, every step deliberate, yet there was a gentleness in how he handled the pup, scooping it up effortlessly when it limped toward him. "He's taken a liking to you," Ronan observed, placing the cub in her lap. The pup settled immediately, its tail thumping softly. "Not many strangers get that honor." Elara smiled, stroking its back. "What's his name? Or is it a she?" "Luca. He's a he." Ronan's voice softened as he said it, a rare vulnerability flashing across his features. "Found him orphaned a few weeks back. Been nursing him myself." "Luca," she repeated, the name fitting the silver-furred bundle. "Suits him. He's got spirit." As if understanding, Luca licked her hand, and she laughed, a sound that felt foreign after months of silence in her city apartment. Ronan pulled up a chair, sitting across from her, his knees nearly brushing hers in the small space. The proximity sent a flutter through her stomach, that inexplicable pull intensifying. "You should eat. Build your strength. Road's probably clear by now if you want to head into town." The offer hung between them, an out she should take. Her Jeep was likely still out there, salvageable, and Silver Ridge waited with its promise of anonymity. But leaving felt wrong, like abandoning a puzzle half-solved. "What about Luca? His wound. He'll be fine." Ronan's gaze dropped to the pup, then back to her, something unspoken in his eyes. "But if you're offering to stick around a bit, I wouldn't mind the company." The admission surprised her. He seemed so self-sufficient, a lone wolf in his forest domain. "You don't get many visitors out here?" "Not the kind worth keeping." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his scent enveloping her, earth and pine, with that underlying musk that stirred something primal in her. "Most folks in Silver Ridge keep to themselves. Old families, old ways. Strangers like you, they stir things up. Stir things up how?" She took a sip of coffee, holding his gaze. There was a challenge in her voice, born of the suspicion from last night. He hesitated, his fingers drumming on his thigh, a rare fidget. "The woods have stories. People disappear sometimes. Animals act strange under the full moon." He glanced out the window, where the trees swayed gently in the morning breeze. "Best not to wander alone." Elara's pulse quickened. The full moon. He'd mentioned legends last night, shifters bound by it. Coincidence or a slip? "You sound like you've seen things." "What aren't you telling me, Ronan?" His eyes met hers, amber depths swirling with secrets. For a moment she thought he might confess, but he stood instead, breaking the tension. "Nothing you need to worry about yet. Come on, let's check on your Jeep. Fresh air might clear your head." She followed him outside, Luca trotting at their heels despite his limp. The storm had left the air crisp, the ground muddy but navigable. The forest loomed around the cabin, ancient pines whispering in the wind, their branches heavy with dew. Ronan led the way down a faint path, his strides long but adjusted to match hers. They walked in silence at first, the only sounds the crunch of leaves and Luca's playful yips. As they neared the road, Elara found herself glancing at him. "You said you've lost people. What happened? If you don't mind me asking." Ronan slowed, his expression darkening. "My family. Years ago, a accident in the woods." His voice was rough, edged with pain. "I was supposed to protect them. but I couldn't. Been alone since, except for the pack. I mean, the locals. Pack. The word slipped out, and he cursed under his breath, quickening his pace. Elara's mind raced. Pack, like wolves? She remembered the shadows last night, the glowing eyes. Ronan, wait. Last night I saw you on the porch. There were animals out there, wolves? He stopped abruptly, turning to face her. They were close now, mere inches apart, his breath warm on her face. You shouldn't have been looking. It's not safe. But what were they? And your eyes, they glowed. Her hand reached out instinctively, touching his arm. The spark ignited, fiercer this time, sending heat racing through both of them. Ronan inhaled sharply, his hand covering hers, holding it there. Elara. Her name was a growl, low and tormented. His free hand cupped her cheek, thumb brushing her skin, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to just them, the forest fading, the pull becoming a roar. She leaned in, drawn by an invisible force, their lips almost brushing. Luca whined suddenly, breaking the spell. Ronan pulled back, eyes wide with alarm, as if he'd forgotten himself. We can't. You don't understand. Then help me understand. Her voice was pleading, her heart pounding. The bond was deepening, weaving tighter with every shared glance, every touch. But the secrets loomed, casting shadows over the fragile trust. He shook his head, stepping away. Your jeep's just ahead. Let's get you fixed up. They found the vehicle half buried in mud, but intact. As Ronan helped dig it out, muscles straining under his shirt, Elara watched him, questions burning. He moved with superhuman ease, tossing branches aside like twigs. Not normal, not human. By midday, the jeep roared to life. But as she climbed in, Luca hopped onto her lap, refusing to leave. Ronan stood by the door, conflicted. He wants to stay with you. Maybe come back later? For him, it was an invitation, veiled but clear. Elara nodded, her resolve hardening. I will. But Ronan, whatever you're hiding, it won't scare me away. His smile was bittersweet. You say that now. As she drove toward Silver Ridge, Luca warm in her lap, the forest seemed to watch her go. Whispers of wind carried warnings. And in the rearview mirror, she saw Ronan shift into the trees, his form blurring for a second. Man or wolf? The town awaited, but so did answers. And the pull? It tugged her back already, promising revelations that could heal or shatter her world. Chapter 4. Echoes in Silver. Elara gripped the steering wheel as she navigated the winding road into Silver Ridge, the jeep's tires crunching over gravel still slick from the storm. Luca nestled in her lap, his small body a comforting weight, his amber eyes occasionally flicking up to hers as if sensing her turmoil. The town emerged from the mist like a forgotten postcard. Quaint wooden buildings lining a main street, a diner with a flickering neon sign, a general store advertising fresh bait and hiking gear. It was the kind of place where time moved slower, where secrets could hide in plain sight. She parked outside the Silver Pine Inn, a cozy 2-story lodge with flower boxes brimming with late-blooming asters. The innkeeper, an older woman named Mabel, with wiry gray hair and a knowing smile, checked her in without much fuss. New in town? Storm chased you here, eh? Rooms are scarce this time of year. Full moon brings the weirdos. Full moon. The words echoed Ronan's legends, sending a prickle down Elara's spine. Weirdos? Like what? Mabel chuckled, handing over a key. Oh, just folks chasing old tales. Wolves howling louder. Shadows playing tricks. Stick to the paths, dear. She eyed Luca curiously. Cute pup. Wild one? Something like that, Elara murmured, scooping him up. In her room, a simple space with a quilted bed and a window overlooking the forest. She set Luca down, watching him explore with tentative limps. Her mind wandered back to Ronan. His guarded eyes, the slip about the pack, the way his touch ignited something deep within her. It wasn't just attraction. It was a gravitational force, pulling her toward truth she wasn't sure she wanted. Needing distraction, she headed to the diner for lunch. The place was half full with locals, loggers in flannel, a few families, all exchanging nods like a tight-knit clan. She slid into a booth, Luca hidden in her oversized bag at her feet. Mabel had turned a blind eye to pets. As she perused the menu, a shadow fell over her table. Mind if I join? Spots are limited. The voice belonged to a man in his 30s, lean and wiry, with sharp features and eyes a shade too keen. He slid in without waiting, extending a hand. Jasper Hale, local mechanic. Saw your Jeep. Looks like it took a beating. Elara shook his hand warily, noting the calluses, the faint scar on his knuckles. Elara Voss, yeah, storm got me good. It's running, though. Jasper leaned back, signaling the waitress for coffee. Heard about the crash up by Kane's place. Ronan's not one for visitors. How'd you end up there? The question was casual, but his gaze was probing. Elara's guard went up. Luck, I guess. He helped me out. She glanced out the window where the forest loomed, dark even in daylight. Ronan Kane's a mystery, that one. Jasper sipped his coffee, eyes narrowing. Keeps to himself, but folks say he's connected to the woods, old family bloodline. You see anything strange out there? Strange like glowing eyes? Blurring forms? She forced a laugh. Just a lot of mud. Why? He shrugged, but it felt feigned. Rumors, disappearances over the years. Some blame wolves, real ones, or... He trailed off smirking. Fairy tales. But watch yourself. Not everyone's as welcoming as they seem. The conversation left her unsettled. After lunch, she wandered the town, Luca trotting beside her on a makeshift leash from twine in her bag. The general store yielded supplies, bandages, dog food, though Luca sniffed it disdainfully, and a local history book that caught her eye. Legends of Silver Ridge, the cover read, emblazoned with a howling wolf silhouette. Back in her room, she flipped through it while Luca napped. Pages spoke of ancient shifters, guardians cursed by a lunar blood pact, bound to protect the land but doomed to solitude unless they found their fated bond. Soulmates, it claimed, drawn by an irresistible pull, healing old wounds but risking everything if rejected. Her heart skipped. The pull with Ronan, it matched. But it was myth, right? Coincidence. As evening fell, restlessness drove her back to the woods. She couldn't stay away. With Luca in tow, she drove toward Ronan's cabin, the sun dipping low, painting the trees in fiery hues. He was outside when she arrived, chopping wood with rhythmic swings, his shirt discarded, sweat glistening on his scarred torso, muscles flexed with each strike, a display of raw power that made her breath catch. He looked up as she approached, axe pausing mid-swing. Back already? His voice held a mix of surprise and relief, his amber eyes lighting up. Luca missed you, she said, though it was a half-truth. The pup bounded forward, nuzzling Ronan's legs. And I had questions. He set the axe down, wiping his brow. Figured you might. He gestured to the porch. Come sit. Fire's going inside, but the air's nice out here. They settled on the steps, Luca between them, the forest alive with evening sounds. Birds settling, leaves rustling. Ronan handed her a blanket against the chill, his fingers lingering on hers, sparking that warmth again. She didn't pull away. I met someone in town, Jasper Hale. She watched his reaction, a flicker of tension in his jaw. Jasper. The name came out clipped. What did he say? Enough to make me curious. About you, the woods, the legends. She pulled out the book, showing him the cover. This stuff, shifters, fated mates. It's just stories, right? Ronan's gaze darkened, but he didn't deny it. Instead, he stared into the trees. Stories have roots in truth. My family's been here generations. We've protected these lands. He turned to her, eyes intense. But some truths are dangerous, Elara. They change everything. Her pulse raced. Like what? Ronan. I felt something when we touched. Like a connection. And Luca, he's not a normal wolf, is he? He reached over Luca, taking her hand fully this time. The spark bloomed into a fire, warmth spreading, easing the ache in her shoulder, calming her racing thoughts. You're right. He's special. And you? Saving him was an accident. His thumb traced circles on her skin, voice dropping. I've been alone a long time. Lost my pack, my family to a rival years ago. A curse lingers, binding us to the moon, making trust hard. Pack. There it was again. Us? She whispered, leaning closer, drawn by the vulnerability in his eyes. He swallowed, conflict warring on his face. Elara, if I tell you. A howl pierced the dusk, distant but urgent. Ronan stiffened, releasing her hand, standing abruptly. More howls joined, echoing like a call to arms. What is it? She rose, Luca whining at her feet. Trouble. His eyes glowed faintly in the fading light, amber bright. Stay here. Lock the door. Ronan, wait. But he was already moving, striding toward the trees. In the twilight, his form seemed to shimmer, shoulders broadening, a low growl escaping his throat. She watched, heart pounding, as he vanished into the shadows. Minutes later, growls and snarls erupted from the forest, fierce, animalistic. Luca pressed against her leg, trembling, fear mixed with certainty. Ronan wasn't human. Not fully, and whatever he was, it called to her soul. As silence fell, he emerged, clothes torn, a fresh scratch on his arm. Intruders. Gone now. He approached, eyes searching hers. You should go, before it's too late. But she stepped forward, touching his wound. I'm not leaving. Not until you tell me everything. His hand covered hers again, the bond pulsing. Tomorrow, promise. The night deepened, secrets hovering like the impending moon, drawing them inexorably closer. Chapter 5. Threads of Fate. The night passed in fitful dreams for Elara, curled under the quilts in Ronan's guest room once more. Luca had insisted on staying by her side, his warm body a sentinel against the shadows that danced beyond the window. She dreamed of wolves circling, their eyes glowing like embers, and Ronan at the center, half man, half beast, reaching for her with a hand that shifted into a paw. The pull was there even in sleep, a cosmic thread binding her to him, whispering of destinies intertwined. Morning light filtered through the pines, casting dappled patterns on the cabin floor. Elara woke to the scent of coffee and sizzling bacon, her stomach growling in response. She dressed quickly, her shoulder barely aching now, almost as if the spark from Ronan's touch had accelerated the healing. Downstairs, she found him in the kitchen, broad back to her as he tended the stove. His shirt clung slightly from the morning's chill, and the fresh scratch on his arm from last night's skirmish was already fading, a pink line where angry red should be. Morning, she said softly, leaning against the doorframe. Luca bounded over from his spot by the fire, tail wagging furiously. Ronan turned, his amber eyes softening at the sight of her. Slept okay? No more howls to keep you up? Nothing I couldn't handle. She moved closer, accepting the mug he offered. Their fingers brushed, deliberately this time, and the warmth bloomed, steady and reassuring. It was becoming addictive, this connection, like a balm to her fractured heart. About last night, those intruders. What was that? He sighed, plating breakfast, eggs, bacon, toast slathered in butter. They sat at the table, Luca begging shamelessly at their feet. Rivals, from another group that doesn't respect boundaries. His voice was measured, but tension lined his jaw. They've been testing the edges lately. Nothing new, but with you here, it complicates things. Me? Why? She forked a bite of egg, watching him intently. The legends from the book echoed. Guardians bound by blood, fated bonds that could strengthen or shatter. Ronan met her gaze, something vulnerable flickering there. You're an outsider. Draws attention. He paused, pushing food around his plate. But it's more than that. Since you saved Luca, I've felt different. Stronger somehow. The admission hung between them, heavy with implication. Elara's heart quickened. I feel it too, like we're connected. The book I found, it talked about soul bonds, mates destined by the moon. Is that? He set his fork down, rubbing a hand over his face. Scars caught the light, remnants of battles past. It's not that simple. My kind were tied to ancient rules, curses from bloodlines long ago. The full moon amplifies it, forces changes we can't always control. His eyes darkened, guarded. Telling you more could put you in danger. Jasper's already sniffing around. He's from a rival line, always looking for weakness. Jasper. The mechanic's probing questions made sense now. A scout, perhaps. Then why promise to tell me everything? Because you deserve it. Ronan's hand reached across the table, covering hers. The spark ignited, deeper this time, sending visions flashing through her mind. Fleeting images of fur and fangs, a pack running under moonlight, loss and loneliness howling in the wind. She gasped, pulling back slightly, but he held on gently. See, it's already happening. The bond, it's awakening things. What bond? Her voice trembled, not from fear, but from the intensity of the emotions flooding her. His emotions, raw and unfiltered. Pain from his family's death, the weight of leadership, a yearning for connection that mirrored her own. He released her, standing to pace the room. In the legends, shifters like me were alphas, kings of our packs, but the curse demands a true mate to break the solitude, to heal the rifts. It's rare, fated. When you touched Luca, then me, it sparked. Like recognition, shifters. The word hung in the air, confirmation of her suspicions, but not the full reveal. He was skirting the edge, testing her. Elara rose, approaching him slowly. Like me, am I? You're human, Elara, but the pull, it's real. He stopped pacing, facing her. They were close now, the heat from his body radiating like a furnace. I've been alone since the attack that took my family. The curse isolates us, makes trust impossible. But with you, it's different. You make me want to break the rules. Her breath caught as she placed a hand on his chest, feeling his heartbeat thunder under her palm. Strong, steady, syncing with hers. I've been running from my own curse, betrayal, emptiness. Marcus left me broken, but here, with you, I feel whole. Ronan's hand covered hers again, his other tilting her chin up. His eyes searched hers, amber swirling with gold flecks in the morning light. You deserve better than this hidden life. Danger lurks. Rivals like Jasper want what I protect. Then let me help. She leaned in, their foreheads touching. The intimacy was electric, building the slow burn between them. No kiss yet, just the promise, the tension coiling tighter. He groaned softly, a sound half human, half growl. You don't know what you're asking. Show me. Her whisper was a challenge, her free hand tracing the scar on his cheek. He shivered under her touch, eyes closing briefly. Before he could respond, a knock echoed at the door, sharp, insistent. Ronan tensed, nostrils flaring as if scenting the air. Stay here. He strode to the entrance, opening it a crack. Elara peered from the kitchen, seeing a tall woman with wild red hair and eyes like Luca's. Amber. Fierce. Ronan, she said, voice urgent. Scouts spotted Jasper's crew near the boundary. They're probing again, and there's talk of a newcomer stirring the bond. Ronan's shoulders stiffened. Handle it, Kira. Keep them away. The woman, Kira, glanced past him, spotting Elara. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. Her? The human? Ronan, if she's the one, not now. He shut the door firmly, turning back with a sigh. My second. Loyal, but protective. Pack? Elara asked, piecing it together. You're their leader. He nodded reluctantly. Alpha, it's my duty to shield them. And you? Being here draws threats. Instead of fear, resolve filled her. Then teach me. About your world, the curse. I won't run. Ronan crossed to her, pulling her into an embrace. It was their first real hug, strong arms enveloping her, his chin resting on her head. She melted into him, the bond humming like a live wire, healing old wounds with every heartbeat. All right, he murmured. But slowly. Today we walk the woods. I'll show you the boundaries, the safe paths. They spent the afternoon hiking, Luca gambling ahead despite his healing limp. Ronan pointed out hidden markers, carved runes on trees, scent trails invisible to her but potent to him. He shared stories, his childhood under the moon, the joy of the pack before the betrayal that slaughtered most, leaving him scarred and solitary. The curse amplifies loss, he explained, voice thick. Makes us wary of bonds, lest they break us further. Elara opened up in return, detailing Marcus's abandonment, the societal pressures that had her chasing a perfect life that crumbled. I thought I was done with trust. But you make me believe again. By a secluded stream, they rested on a fallen log, hands entwined. The spark flowed constantly now, a gentle current. Ronan's thumb stroked her knuckles, his gaze intense. The full moon's in 2 days. Things change then. I can't hide it forever. Then don't. She squeezed his hand. Whatever you are, it won't change this. A rustle in the bushes made them tense. Luca growled low, hackles rising. From the underbrush emerged a wolf, charcoal gray, eyes glowing. It approached warily, shifting mid-step into Kira, clothed somehow in the blur. Elara's jaw dropped, the secret cracking open. Ronan, Kira panted. Jasper's challenged you, at the clearing tonight. He knows about her, the bond. He's calling it a weakness. Ronan's face hardened, a growl rumbling in his chest. He stood, pulling Elara up. Then we face it. As they hurried back, the bond pulsed with urgency. The reveal hovered, suspense thickening like the gathering dusk. Elara's world tilted. Shifters were real, and she was entangled. But the deepening connection with Ronan, it promised strength amid the storm. Chapter 6. The Challenge Clearing. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows through the dense canopy as Ronan, Elara, and Kira hurried back to the cabin. Luca trotted close to Elara's heels, his limp nearly gone, as if the bond's energy had mended him too. Elara's mind reeled from Kira's transformation, the seamless shift from wolf to woman, clothes materializing as if by magic. It confirmed the impossible. Shifters were real, living legends in these woods. But Ronan, he hadn't shown her that side yet, holding back like a storm cloud on the verge of breaking. Explain, Elara demanded as they burst through the cabin door. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. You can all do that. Change. Kira shot Ronan a pointed look, her red hair wild from the run. She saw me. The cat's out, or the wolf, I suppose. Tell her, Alpha. Ronan ran a hand through his dark hair, frustration etching his features. Not like this. Not rushed. He turned to Elara, his amber eyes pleading. The challenge. Jasper's calling me out. It's a dominance play to weaken my hold on the territory. If I lose, you won't. Elara stepped forward, placing a hand on his arm. The contact sparked, warmth flowing between them, steadying his ragged breath. But why now? Because of me? He nodded, his grip tightening on her hand. The bond, it's like a beacon. Rivals sense it, see it as vulnerability. Jasper's pack lost ground years ago. He's hungry for power. Ronan's voice dropped, laced with old pain. The same rivalry that killed my family. I can't let history repeat. Kira paced the room, her energy kinetic. We gather the pack. Meet at the clearing by dusk. Elara stays here, safe. No. Elara's tone was firm, surprising even herself. If this is about me, I need to be there. Hiding won't help. Ronan searched her face, conflict warring in his eyes. Finally, he sighed. All right, but stay back. And if things go south? He trailed off, pulling her into another embrace. His arms were a fortress, his scent enveloping her. Pine, earth, and that wild musk that stirred her soul. She felt his heartbeat sync with hers, the bond deepening like roots intertwining. Promise you'll run. I promise, she whispered, though the thought twisted her gut. Leaving him felt impossible now, like severing a limb. They prepared quickly. Ronan donned a leather jacket, scarred from past fights, while Kira scouted ahead. As they set out, the forest seemed alive with anticipation, branches whispering secrets. Luca stayed glued to Elara, a silent guardian. Ronan walked beside her, their hands brushing occasionally, each touch a silent affirmation. Tell me more about the curse, Elara said, as they navigated a narrow trail. The air grew cooler, the full moon's approach palpable even days away. It's tied to our bloodline, Ronan explained, his voice low. Ancient pacts with the land, protect it, and it grants us strength, the shift. But betrayal fractures it, isolates us. After the attack, I rebuilt the pack, but the loneliness, it's like a void. He glanced at her, vulnerability raw, until you, saving Luca, it ignited something. Fated mates aren't just legend. They're rare, powerful. You heal me, Elara, in ways I didn't think possible. Her chest tightened. And you me. Marcus's betrayal left me doubting love, trust. But this pull, it's like fate saying I belong. She squeezed his hand, the spark pulsing. Visions flickered again, Ronan's past, a younger him running with wolves, joy turning to horror as rivals struck. She gasped. I see it, your memories. He stopped, turning to her fully. The bond shares truths. It's deepening. His hand cupped her cheek, thumb tracing her lip. The world narrowed, tension coiling. Their breaths mingled, lips inches apart. Elara's heart thundered, desire mingling with the emotional tide. But Kira's voice called from ahead. We're close. Focus. Ronan pulled back with a growl of frustration, eyes dark with promise. Later, he murmured, the word a vow. The clearing emerged, a wide meadow ringed by ancient oaks, moonlight beginning to filter through twilight clouds. A dozen figures waited, some in human form, others as wolves with glowing eyes. Ronan's pack, loyal, fierce, nodding respectfully as he entered. Across the field stood Jasper, flanked by half a dozen shifters, his lean frame taut with aggression. Well, well, Jasper sneered, eyes flicking to Elara. Brought your human pet? How quaint. The great Alpha Kane, softened by fate's whim. Ronan's growl rumbled deep, echoing through the clearing. He positioned himself protectively in front of Elara, Luca at her side. This ends tonight, Jasper. Your incursions stop. Jasper laughed, a cold sound. Or what? Your bond makes you weak, distracted. I challenge you for the territory. Winner takes all, the pack murmured, tension crackling like static. Kira shifted to wolf form beside Ronan, her red fur bristling. Elara's pulse raced. She felt the bond surge, lending Ronan strength, but fear gnawed at her. What if he got hurt? Accepted, Ronan declared, shrugging off his jacket. His muscles rippled, scars stark in the dim light. He glanced back at Elara, eyes softening. Stay with Kira. As the rivals circled, the air thickened with primal energy. Jasper lunged first, shifting midair into a wiry brown wolf, fangs bared. Ronan dodged, his form blurring. Not fully shifting, but enhancing. Claws extending from hands, eyes glowing brighter. He moved with inhuman speed, grappling Jasper in a whirlwind of snarls and strikes. Elara watched, breath held, the bond letting her feel echoes of his exertion. Adrenaline, determination. Ronan pinned Jasper briefly, but the rival twisted free, slashing at his side. Blood welled, and Elara winced as if it were her own wound. Ronan, she cried, stepping forward instinctively. Jasper's head snapped toward her, a malicious glint in his wolf eyes. He broke from Ronan, charging at her, a calculated distraction. Time slowed. Luca yelped, Kira leaped to intercept, but Jasper was fast. Ronan roared, a sound that shook the trees. In a blur, he intercepted, tackling Jasper mid-leap. They rolled in a fury of fur and fangs. Wait, fur? Elara blinked. Ronan's form had shifted partially. Charcoal gray pelt sprouting along his arms, jaw elongating slightly. Not full wolf, but hybrid, powerful and terrifying. The pack howled encouragement. Ronan dominated now, forcing Jasper to submit with a paw. Hand? On his throat. Yield, he growled, voice distorted, beastly. Jasper whimpered, shifting back to human, defeated. Fine. For now. His pack dragged him away, tails low. Ronan rose, breathing heavy, his hybrid features receding slowly, fur retracting, eyes dimming. Blood streaked his side, but he waved off help, striding to Elara. You okay? She nodded, touching his wound gently. The spark healed it faintly, closing the gash. You changed, partially. He nodded, exhaustion in his eyes. The shift, it's controlled, except under the full moon. Then it's inevitable. He pulled her close, forehead to hers. Seeing you in danger, I couldn't hold back. The bond thrummed, deeper now, forged in the fire of battle. Elara felt his fear, his love budding like a flower in spring. I'm here. We're in this together. Kira approached, human again. Good fight, Alpha, but Jasper won't stop. The moon's coming, he'll try again. Ronan straightened. Then we prepare. Elara, there's more to show you. Tomorrow, the heart of the woods, the source of the curse. As the pack dispersed, they walked back under emerging stars, hands entwined, the pull stronger, secrets peeling away layer by layer. But suspense lingered. the full shift, the curse's depths, and Jasper's lingering threat. The bond promised healing, but at what cost? Chapter 7. The Heart of the Woods. The morning after the challenge dawned crisp and clear. The forest bathed in a golden haze that softened the sharp edges of last night's violence. Elara stood on Ronan's porch, Luca curled at her feet, as the memory of his partial shift replayed in her mind. Charcoal fur sprouting, eyes blazing, a man and beast intertwined. It thrilled and terrified her, this glimpse of his true nature, but the bond pulsed stronger than ever, a living current that tethered her to him. She'd seen his strength, his protectiveness, and felt his fear for her safety. Yet, the full truth of his shifter identity remained veiled, and the promise of the forest's heart loomed like a storm on the horizon. Ronan emerged from the cabin, carrying a pack with water and supplies. His leather jacket was gone, replaced by a fitted sweater that hugged his broad frame, the faint scar on his cheek catching the light. The wound from Jasper's attack had healed unnaturally fast, leaving only a faint line. He caught her staring, and a half-smile tugged at his lips. "Ready for a hike? The heart of the woods isn't far, but it's intense." "Intense how?" Elara asked, adjusting Luca's makeshift leash. The pup yipped, eager to move, his silver fur gleaming like moonlight trapped in day. "You'll see." Ronan's voice was guarded, but his amber eyes held a warmth that invited trust. He reached for her hand, the spark igniting as their fingers laced, a now familiar heat that soothed her lingering doubts. "Stay close. The woods have a way of testing you." They set off, the trail weaving deeper into the forest than yesterday's paths. The air grew thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, and the trees seemed older here, their trunks gnarled and etched with faint runes like those Ronan had shown her. He pointed out their meanings: protection, balance, connection, etched by his ancestors to guard the land. "The curse ties us to these," he said, tracing one with a calloused finger. "It's a pact. We protect the forest, and it gives us power. But it demands sacrifice." "Sacrifice?" Elara's heart skipped, the bond letting her feel the weight of his words, centuries of duty, loss woven into his blood. He glanced at her, hesitating. "Loyalty, solitude. The curse isolates alphas until a true mate breaks it. My parents, they had that bond, but rivals tore it apart." His voice cracked, raw with grief. "I swore I'd never let anyone close again." Elara stopped walking, turning to face him. The forest loomed around them, alive with whispers, but all she saw was Ronan, scarred, guarded, yet opening to her like a flower to dawn. "And now?" she asked softly, stepping closer. The bond hummed, urging her to bridge the gap. "Now." He cupped her face, thumbs brushing her cheeks. "You're changing everything. Saving Luca. Facing Jasper. You're fearless, Elara. It scares me how much I need you." Her breath hitched, the confession unraveling her defenses. Marcus's betrayal had left her doubting love, but Ronan's raw honesty rebuilt something inside her. She rose on her toes, their lips a whisper apart, the tension a coiled spring. "I need you too," she murmured. "Whatever you are, I'm not running." His eyes darkened, a low growl rumbling in his chest. Not threatening, but primal, wanting. For a heartbeat, she thought he'd kiss her, sealing the bond in a way words couldn't. But he pulled back, jaw tight. "Not yet. The heart. It'll test us both." Frustration mingled with anticipation, the slow burn intensifying. They continued, the trail narrowing until it opened into a glade unlike any Elara had seen. A massive oak dominated the center, its roots sprawling like veins across a stone altar etched with lunar symbols. Moonlight seemed to linger here, even in daylight, casting an ethereal glow. The air thrummed with energy, making her skin prickle. "This is it," Ronan said, voice reverent. "The heart of the woods, where the curse was forged." Elara approached the altar, Luca staying close, his ears twitching. The bond surged, flooding her with sensations. Ronan's pulse, his memories of this place, rituals under full moons, his father's voice teaching him the old ways, the agony of loss when the rival pack struck. She gasped, clutching the altar's edge. "I feel you." "Your past. Ronan's hand found her back, steadying her. The bond's stronger here. This place amplifies it. Truth, connection, pain. He knelt beside her, pointing to a carved rune shaped like a crescent moon. This binds us to the curse. To shift, to protect. But it also ties us to a mate, one who can heal or break us. Her fingers traced the rune, the stone warm under her touch. Am I your mate? The word felt heavy, cosmic, yet right. He nodded slowly, eyes locked on hers. I think so. The spark, the visions, it's the sign. But accepting it, it's dangerous. For both of us. Dangerous how? She stood, facing him, the glade's energy amplifying her courage. Jasper, the curse? All of it. Ronan's voice was rough, his hands framing her face again. If we complete the bond, heart and soul, it could break the curse, give the pack strength. But if it fails, if you reject it, he swallowed, fear flickering. I could lose control, become the beast fully, and you'd be a target for every rival. Elara's heart pounded, but resolve burned brighter. I'm not afraid. Show me how to do this. He smiled, bittersweet. It's not a choice you make lightly. The full moon, tomorrow night, it'll force the truth. I'll shift fully then. You'll see me, all of me. The promise sent a shiver through her, equal parts dread and longing. She wanted to see him, to know him completely, but the weight of the curse loomed. Before she could respond, Luca growled, his hackles rising. The glade's glow dimmed as shadows moved beyond the trees, eyes glinting, too many to count. Ronan tensed, stepping in front of her. Jasper's pack. They followed us. Kira's voice cut through, urgent, as she emerged from the trees in human form. They're circling Alpha. They want the altar, control of the heart. How many? Ronan's tone was all command now, the Alpha surfacing. 8, maybe 10. Kira's eyes flicked to Elara. She shouldn't be here. I stay, Elara said firmly, gripping Ronan's arm. The bond flared, lending her strength, his strength. What do we do? Ronan's jaw tightened, a growl rumbling. We hold the glade. The heart's power, it's ours to defend. He turned to her, eyes glowing faintly. Stay by the altar. It'll protect you. The shadows closed in, wolves emerging. Brown, black, gray, their snarls echoing. Jasper stepped forward, human, smirking. You're weak, Kane. That human's your downfall. Hand over the heart, and we spare her. Ronan's form rippled, claws extending, a partial shift. Never! He lunged, meeting Jasper's pack in a clash of fur and fury. Kira shifted too, Red Wolf diving into the fray. Elara backed against the altar, Luca snarling at her side as the glade erupted in chaos. The bond let her feel Ronan's rage, his protectiveness, fueling her own resolve. She grabbed a branch, wielding it like a club, ready to fight if they reached her. A wolf broke through, lunging. Jasper, his brown fur unmistakable. Ronan roared, intercepting, his hybrid form a blur of power. They rolled, snarling, until Ronan pinned him, claws at his throat. Leave, now. Ronan's voice was barely human, vibrating with authority. Jasper shifted back, panting, defeated but defiant. The moon's coming. You can't hide her forever. His pack retreated, melting into the trees. Ronan staggered to Elara, blood streaking his side again. She caught him, the bond healing faintly as their hands met. You're hurt. I'll live. He pulled her close, breath ragged. You stayed. Always. The word was a vow, the bond a lifeline. As they limped back to the cabin, Luca at their heels, the full moon's shadow loomed. Tomorrow the truth would unravel. Ronan's full shift, the curse's test. And Elara, bound by fate, would face it with him, no matter the cost. Chapter 8. Shadows of the Moon. The trek back to the cabin was a silent procession, the forest's ancient sentinels watching their every step. Ronan's arm draped over Elara's shoulders for support, though his wounds were already knitting together with that unnatural speed she'd come to associate with his kind. Luca padded ahead, ears perked for any lingering threats, while Kira flanked them, her human form tense and alert. The glade's energy still hummed in Elara's veins, amplifying the bond, a constant thrum that made her acutely aware of Ronan's pain, both physical and emotional. He leaned on her not just for balance, but for the comfort her presence provided. A silent admission that deepened the ache in her chest. As they crossed the threshold, Ronan eased onto the couch with a grunt, his sweater torn and bloodied. Elara knelt beside him, peeling back the fabric to inspect the gashes. "These are closing already," she murmured, her fingers tracing the edges lightly. The spark leaped at the contact, warmth spreading, accelerating the heal. She felt his relief through the bond, a soft wave that mirrored her own growing attachment. "You're getting better at that," he said, his voice a low rumble, eyes half-lidded with exhaustion. A faint smile played on his lips, but shadows lingered in his gaze. The weight of the curse, the impending full moon. Elara sat back on her heels, Luca curling up nearby with a contented sigh. "The bond? It's like I can feel what you need. Does it work both ways?" Ronan nodded, reaching out to tuck a stray curl behind her ear. His touch was gentle, reverent, sending shivers down her spine. "It does. Your strength flows to me, Elara. In the glade when Jasper lunged, I drew from you without thinking." He paused, his amber eyes searching hers. "But it's dangerous. The more we connect, the harder it is to hide what I am. What I am." The words hung between them, a reminder of the secret still partially shrouded. She'd seen glimpses, the claws, the fur, the growl, but the full shifter within him remained a mystery, locked behind the curse's veil. Suspense coiled in her gut. Tomorrow's moon would force it open, but what if it changed everything? Kira cleared her throat from the doorway, breaking the moment. "I'll rally the pack, reinforce the boundaries. Jasper's retreat won't last." She glanced at Elara with a mix of wariness and respect. "Human or not, you held your ground. That's something." With a nod to Ronan, she slipped out, leaving them alone. The cabin fell quiet, save for the crackle of the fire Ronan stoked with his good arm. Elara helped him change into a fresh shirt, her hands lingering on his skin, tracing the scars that told stories of battles long past. Each touch deepened the bond, sharing fragments. His loneliness after the pack's decimation, the curse's cold grip that had kept him from love. In return, she felt him sense her own scars. The betrayal by Marcus, the fear of vulnerability. "Sit with me," he said softly, patting the space beside him. She complied, nestling into his side, his arm wrapping around her protectively. Luca hopped up, settling across their laps like a living blanket. The pup's amber eyes met hers, and through the bond, she sensed a connection there too, as if Luca was part of this fated web. "Tell me about the full shift," Elara whispered, her head on his shoulder. The suspense built with the setting sun, the moon's pull already whispering in the air. "What happens?" Ronan's chest rose and fell steadily, but she felt the tension coiling within him. "The curse forces it. Under the full moon, control slips. The beast takes over completely. I'm still me, aware, but instincts rule. Strength multiplies, senses sharpen." He hesitated, his hand tightening on her waist. "It's when the bond is tested. If you're truly my mate, it'll anchor me. If not, she lifted her head, meeting his gaze. The vulnerability there tugged at her heart, deepening the emotional tide between them. "I could lose myself to the wild. Become a rogue, dangerous." His voice dropped to a whisper. "That's the secret I've guarded. The curse doesn't just isolate. It can consume. My father, he resisted his mate once and it nearly destroyed him." Elara's breath caught. The revelation added layers to the suspense, the risk of their connection, but instead of fear, it fueled her resolve. "Then we'll face it together. I feel it, Ronan. This is real." She placed her hand over his heart, the spark blooming into a fire that chased away his doubts, if only momentarily. He turned toward her, their faces inches apart. The cabin's firelight danced in his eyes, highlighting the gold flecks that seemed to glow brighter with the moon's approach. "You've healed me in ways I didn't know I needed. You're past. I feel it too. The pain from that betrayal, it's like my own losses. But together we mend." Tears pricked her eyes, the slow burn of their romance igniting further. No rushed declarations, just this quiet building of trust, layer by layer. She leaned in, their lips brushing in the softest of touches. Not a full kiss, but a promise, electric and profound. The bond surged, visions flashing, shared futures under starry skies, a pack rebuilt, wounds fading. Ronan pulled back slightly, a growl of restraint in his throat. Elara, if we go further now, the moon might accelerate things. I want us, to be right. She nodded, understanding the suspense he maintained, the secret of his full form a barrier yet to cross. Tomorrow, then. Show me everything. They spent the evening in quiet companionship, Ronan sharing more tales of his world, the magic in the bloodlines, how shifters aged slower, bound to the land's rhythms. Elara opened up about her dreams, art inspired by the wilderness, a life free from city's chains. Luca's presence wove them closer, the pup a symbol of her entry into this supernatural realm. As night fell, Ronan insisted she rest in the guest room, but sleep evaded her. The bond kept her attuned to him downstairs, pacing, fighting the moon's early tug. A low howl echoed outside, not threat, but a pack member's call. She slipped to the window, seeing shadows move, wolves gathering, eyes glowing in loyalty to their alpha. Ronan appeared in the doorway, silhouetted. Can't sleep? She shook her head, crossing to him. The pull, it's stronger tonight. He drew her into his arms, holding her close. It's the prelude. Tomorrow, the curse tests us fully. If the bond holds, it breaks the isolation. For me, for the pack. And if it doesn't? The question slipped out, suspense tightening like a vice. His hold tightened. It will. Fate brought you here for a reason. But doubt flickered through the bond, a secret fear he couldn't fully hide. They stood like that, hearts sinking, until dawn's light crept in. As Elara prepared for the day, resolve steeled her. The full moon awaited, promising revelation and risk. Jasper's threat lingered, but the deepening bond with Ronan, it was her anchor in the storm, leading inexorably to the night that would define them. Word count 1-12. Chapter 9. The Moon's Embrace. Dawn's light pierced the cabin's windows, casting a pale glow over the room where Elara had finally drifted into uneasy sleep. Ronan had stayed with her through the night, his presence a steady anchor against the mounting pull of the moon. Now, as the day unfolded, the air hummed with anticipation, the curse's energy thickening like fog rolling in from the forest. Elara woke to find him gone from her side, but the bond tugged at her, guiding her downstairs where he stood by the window, staring at the sky. Luca lay at his feet, watchful, as if sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Ronan. Her voice was soft, laced with concern. He turned, his amber eyes brighter than usual, flecked with an inner light that hinted at the beast stirring within. The partial shifts she'd witnessed were mere shadows compared to what tonight promised, and the suspense gnawed at her. Would the full reveal bind them closer or drive a wedge? He crossed to her in 2 strides, pulling her into his arms. The embrace was fiercer than before, his body heat radiating like a fever. The moon's rising soon. I can feel it building. His voice was rough, strained, as if holding back a growl. Through the bond, she sensed his internal battle, instincts warring with control, fear of losing her mingling with desperate need. Elara held him tighter. Her hands splayed across his back, feeling the muscles tense under her touch. The spark flowed freely now, a river of warmth that eased his turmoil and her own anxieties. We'll get through this. Tell me what to expect, what I can do. He pulled back slightly, searching her face. Stay with me until it starts. The pack will guard the perimeter. Kira's already out there, but when the shift hits, I'll be different. Stronger, wilder. The curse will test the bond. If it's true, you'll ground me. If not... He trailed off, the secret of his full form casting a long shadow. She cupped his cheek, thumb tracing the scar there. It is true. I feel it in every breath. The words deepened their connection, vulnerability weaving them tighter. Marcus's ghost faded further. Ronan's honesty, his raw need, filled the voids she'd carried for so long. They spent the morning in quiet preparation. Ronan showed her the cabin's hidden wards, runes carved into the beams, herbs bundled for calming the beast. As they worked side by side, he shared more fragments of his life, the joy of his first shift as a boy, running free under the stars, the curse's bite when solitude set in after the pack's loss. I thought I'd always be alone, he admitted, his hand covering hers as they tied a bundle of sage. The Alpha's burden, protect, but never fully connect. Until you crashed into my world, Elara smiled, leaning into him, literally. That storm was fate's way of pushing us together. She paused, the bond sharing her own memories, the wedding dress unworn, the empty promises. I was so broken, Ronan, but you're piecing me back. His eyes softened, and he drew her close again, their foreheads touching. The intimacy built slowly, a simmer that promised to boil over. You're doing the same for me. His breath ghosted her lips, the almost kiss from last night echoing in the charged space between them. This time he lingered longer, noses brushing, the pull magnetic. Elara's heart raced, desire coiling low in her belly, but he held back, suspense in his restraint. Not yet, he whispered. After the moon, when I'm sure I won't hurt you. The words sent a thrill through her, deepening the emotional layers. Their bond wasn't just physical, it was soul-deep healing. Luca whined softly, nuzzling their legs, as if approving the union. As afternoon waned, they ventured outside, the forest alive with the pack's distant howls, calls of solidarity. Ronan led her to a small clearing behind the cabin, a safe space ringed by protective runes. This is where it'll happen. When the moon crests, the shift comes fast. He sat with her on a blanket, Luca between them, and they talked of futures, a life where she could create art inspired by this world, where the pack might accept a human mate. But tension underscored it all. Ronan's skin grew warmer, his eyes glowing intermittently. Through the bond, Elara felt the beast rising, primal urges, the need to run, to claim. It's starting, he said, voice gravelly. The curse. It amplifies everything. My senses, my strength. And the secret, I've hidden the full extent, because once you see, there's no going back. Tell me, she urged, hand in his. The suspense built like the gathering dusk, her curiosity mingling with fear. What would the full shifter look like? Would the wolf recognize her? He shook his head. Words won't do it justice, but know this. Even as the beast, I'll know you. The bond ensures it. His free hand traced her arm, sparking trails of heat. The touch was more intimate now, fingers lingering, drawing patterns that spoke of restrained passion. As twilight deepened, Kira appeared at the edge of the clearing, wolf form shifting to human. Jasper's scouts are probing again. They sense the vulnerability tonight. Her eyes flicked to Elara. You sure about this, human? The moon makes him unpredictable. Elara nodded, resolve firm. I'm sure. Kira left to bolster defenses, leaving them alone. Ronan stood pacing, his movements fluid but edged with restlessness. The pull, it's like fire in my veins. He stopped, pulling Elara up with him. They stood chest to chest, the bond a symphony of shared emotions. Love budding, trust solidifying, suspense thrumming. Kiss me, she whispered, unable to wait longer. The slow burn demanded release. Ronan's eyes flashed gold, a growl escaping. Elara. But he yielded, his lips crashing to hers in a kiss that ignited everything. It was fierce yet tender, tongues dancing, hands roaming, his in her hair, hers clutching his shirt. The spark exploded into ecstasy, visions flooding, their souls entwining, the curse cracking under the mate bond's power. She tasted his wildness, the man and beast in harmony. They broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed. That seals it, he panted, the bonds claiming us. But the moon rose higher and Ronan's body shuddered. It's time. He backed away, stripping his shirt, muscles rippling. Fur began to sprout along his arms, claws extending. Stay back until it's done. Elara watched, heart pounding, as the transformation accelerated. Bones shifting, form elongating. The suspense peaked. The full shifter emerged, a massive charcoal wolf with amber eyes locked on her. He was magnificent, terrifying, yet the bond sang recognition. Luca yipped, bounding to his side. The wolf, Ronan, nuzzled the pup, then approached Elara slowly, nose to her hand. The spark remained, warmer, purer. She stroked his fur, unafraid. It's you, she breathed, but a howl shattered the moment. Jasper's pack, attacking under the moon's cover. Ronan's wolf form snarled, positioning protectively. The bond urged her, fight together. As chaos erupted, wolves clashing in the clearing, Elara grabbed a rune-etched staff Ronan had prepared. The curse's test had begun, their deepened bond the key to survival, or downfall. Chapter 10. Bonds Forged in Battle. The clearing erupted into a maelstrom of snarls and shadows under the full moon's unyielding gaze. Ronan's massive wolf form stood sentinel before Elara, his charcoal fur bristling, amber eyes blazing with feral intensity. The bond thrummed between them like a heartbeat amplified, allowing her to sense his thoughts. Not words, but instincts. Protect, claim, mate. It was overwhelming, this glimpse into the beast's mind, yet it deepened their connection, weaving her human resolve with his primal fury. Luca, small but fierce, positioned himself at her side, growling at the encroaching wolves, his silver coat glowing ethereally in the moonlight. Jasper's pack circled, a dozen forms slinking from the trees, sleek predators with eyes reflecting the moon's silver. Jasper himself, in wolf form, led the charge, his brown fur scarred from prior defeats, lips curled in a silent promise of vengeance. The air crackled with the curse's energy, the full moon forcing all shifters into their true forms, amplifying strengths and exposing vulnerabilities. Elara gripped the rune-etched staff tighter, her heart pounding. The secret of Ronan's identity was laid bare now, but suspense lingered in the unknown. Would the bond hold against the curse's ultimate test, or would the battle shatter it? Ronan lunged first, a blur of power and grace colliding with Jasper midair. They tumbled in a whirlwind of fangs and claws, the ground churning under their weight. Elara felt every impact through the bond, pain lancing his flank, rage fueling his strikes. Kira's red wolf form darted in, flanking a gray attacker, her snarls echoing as she drove it back. The pack responded, loyal shadows joining the fray, but Jasper's numbers pressed the advantage. "Stay back," Elara shouted instinctively, though Ronan couldn't respond in words. She swung the staff at a lone wolf that broke toward her, the runes flaring with protective magic, repelling it with a burst of light. Luca snapped at its heels, his pup ferocity surprising the assailant. The bond surged, lending her strength. She felt Ronan's approval, a warm pulse amid the chaos. As the battle raged, Elara's mind raced. The kiss before the shift lingered on her lips, a seal on their deepening emotions. It wasn't just passion, it was surrender, a merging of souls that healed her old wounds. Marcus's abandonment paled against this. Ronan's devotion, even as a beast, was unwavering. Through the bond, she sent him her own resolve. "I'm here. We're one." Ronan disengaged from Jasper momentarily, slamming into two wolves threatening Kira. His roar shook the trees, a command that rallied his pack. But Jasper seized the opening, leaping onto Ronan's back, jaws clamping on his shoulder. Blood matted the charcoal fur, and Elara cried out, feeling the agony as her own. The curse amplified it, testing the bond's limits. Pain shared, doubled. No, she wouldn't let it break them. Dropping the staff, Elara rushed forward, heedless of danger. "Get off him!" Her hands connected with Jasper's flank, the spark exploding outward. Not just warmth, but a force, channeled through the mate bond. Jasper yelped, flung back as if struck by lightning, his form shuddering. The clearing fell momentarily still. Jasper shifted partially, human features flickering in pain. "What? Are you?" He snarled, eyes wide. The other wolves hesitated, sensing the shift in power. Ronan rose, shaking off the blood, his amber gaze locking on Elara. Through the bond, gratitude, awe, love. The curse's grip loosened slightly, the moon's pull less tyrannical. She had anchored him, her human touch taming the beast without diminishing it. But the fight wasn't over. Jasper howled, rallying his pack for a final assault. Wolves charged en masse, a wave of fur and fangs. Ronan's pack met them, clashes ringing like thunder. Elara retrieved the staff, standing back-to-back with Luca, who had grown bolder, nipping at stragglers. Kira fought valiantly, but a black wolf pinned her, jaws at her throat. Ronan barreled through, freeing her, but exhaustion showed in his movements. The bond revealed his secret fear. The curse could still consume him if the bond faltered, turning him rogue under the moon's madness. Suspense built. Would their connection endure the strain? In a desperate moment, Elara closed her eyes, focusing on the bond. She poured everything into it. Her love, her trust, the healing they'd begun. Visions flashed between them. Shared pasts mending, futures intertwined. Ronan's wolf form glowed faintly, the curse cracking like ice under sun. With renewed vigor, he turned the tide. A powerful swipe sent Jasper sprawling, the rival alpha submitting with a whine. His pack faltered, retreating into the shadows, tails low. The moon watched impassively as silence descended, broken only by heavy breaths and whimpers. Ronan approached Elara, his massive form shrinking, fur receding as the shift reversed with the battle's end. Bones realigned with audible pops, and soon he knelt before her, human again, naked and bloodied but whole. His eyes, still amber bright, held no secrets now, just raw emotion. "Elara," he rasped, pulling her down into his arms. The bond hummed triumphantly, deeper than ever, a soul-deep tether that chased away the curse's shadows. She clung to him, tears mixing with dirt on her cheeks. "You did it," she whispered, hands roaming his back, confirming he was real, safe. "We did it." He buried his face in her hair, inhaling her scent like a lifeline. "Your strength, it saved me. The bond, it's complete." His voice cracked, vulnerability laid bare. The emotional buildup crested here, in this aftermath. No more hiding, just acceptance. But a lingering suspense remained, the curse broken. Yet what of the pack's future, Jasper's grudge? Kira shifted back, approaching with the pack in tow, wolves becoming men and women, nods of respect. The heart of the woods, it pulses stronger. The curse lifts. Ronan stood, Elara at his side, his arm around her waist possessively. "Because of her. My mate." The word sent a thrill through her, sealing their fates. As the pack howled in celebration, Ronan tilted her chin, capturing her lips in a kiss that eclipsed the first, deep, claiming, filled with promises. The spark evolved into a blaze, healing final fractures. But as dawn hinted on the horizon, a distant howl echoed. Jasper perhaps vowing return. The bond warned of one last trial. Ronan met her eyes. "It's not over. The Alpha's throne. They'll challenge again. Then we face it together," Elara said, her hand in his. As they returned to the cabin, the moon fading, their deepened union promised resolution. But the final secret of their shared destiny beckoned. Chapter 11. Eternal Howldawn's first light filtered through the cabin's windows, painting the room in soft hues of gold and rose, a stark contrast to the night's carnage. Ronan held Elara close as they crossed the threshold, his body still humming with the remnants of the shift. Muscles aching, senses heightened. The pack trailed behind, shifting back to human forms, their faces etched with exhaustion and triumph. Kira directed them to tend wounds and stand watch, her voice a steady anchor in the aftermath. Luca bounded inside, unharmed, his silver fur unmarred, as if the bond had shielded him too. Elara guided Ronan to the couch, her hand steady despite the adrenaline fading into bone-deep weariness. Blood streaked his skin, but the gashes were closing, the curse's final grip releasing its hold. She fetched a basin of water and cloths, kneeling to clean him gently. Each touch sparked that familiar warmth, now evolved into something profound, a seamless flow of energy that mended not just flesh, but spirits. "You're safe," she whispered, her voice trembling with the weight of the night. The full reveal of his shifter form lingered in her mind, majestic, terrifying, utterly him. No more secrets veiled his identity. The wolf was part of the man she loved, yet suspense simmered in the unknown. What came next? The bond was complete, the curse broken, but Jasper's parting howl echoed like a promise of unrest. Ronan caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. His amber eyes, dimmed to their human glow, held depths of gratitude and something deeper, unbridled devotion. "You were my anchor, Elara. In the chaos, your voice, your strength." It pulled me back. His thumb traced her palm, the contact sending ripples through the bond, sharing echoes of his beast's joy at her acceptance. She leaned in, their foreheads touching, breaths mingling. The emotional tide built slowly, even in victory. No rushed declarations, just this quiet affirmation. I saw you, all of you, and it only made me love you more. The words slipped out, raw and true, deepening the invisible threads between them. Marcus's shadow was gone. Ronan's world had become her home. He pulled her onto his lap, arms encircling her like a fortress. Luca curled at their feet, a soft whine of contentment escaping him. Love, Ronan echoed, tasting the word. The curse stole that from me for so long. Isolation, duty, but you shattered it. His hand cupped her cheek, eyes searching hers. The pack feels it too. The heart of the woods pulses with new life. Because of us. A knock at the door interrupted, Kira entering with a few pack members. Weathered faces Elara recognized from the battle. They bowed their heads slightly, a gesture of respect. Alpha, Kira said, her tone formal but warm. The boundaries hold. Jasper's fled, but he'll lick his wounds and return. The bond, it's changed everything. The curse is broken. We feel the freedom. Ronan nodded, his hold on Elara tightening protectively. She is my mate, our queen. The words carried weight, a declaration that sent murmurs through the group. Elara's pulse quickened. Acceptance wasn't guaranteed. Suspense hung in their gazes. Would they embrace a human in their midst? One elder, a grizzled man with scars rivaling Ronan's, stepped forward. We've lost much to the curse. If she stands with you, she stands with us. He extended a hand, which Elara took, the bond extending faintly, sharing a flicker of pack unity. One by one, they pledged loyalty, the emotional build-up cresting in this moment of inclusion. Tears welled in her eyes. She'd found not just love, but family. As the pack dispersed to rest and patrol, Ronan led Elara to the bedroom, the cabin's sanctuary. The bond urged closeness, healing the night's toll. He shed his torn clothes, vulnerability in his nudity, and drew her under the quilts. No urgency drove them, just tender touches, hands exploring scars and skin, mapping each other's stories. You died protecting Luca, Ronan murmured, echoing the fate that had woven them together. But I refused to let you go. Fate refused. His lips brushed her forehead, then her neck, igniting slow fires. The bond deepened with every caress, sharing visions of a shared life. Runs under the moon. Luca growing strong. A pack rebuilt. Elara arched into him, her fingers tangling in his hair. And I choose to stay, in your world, our world. Their kiss was languid, profound, bodies aligning in a dance of trust and desire. The slow burn culminated here, intimate and unhurried, the bond sealing an ecstasy that transcended the physical. Souls merging, curses dissolving. Afterward, they lay entwined, breaths sinking. Suspense lingered in the quiet. Jasper's threat, the human world she'd left. What now? She asked, tracing patterns on his chest. Ronan smiled, a rare, unguarded expression. We build. The pack accepts you. Silver Ridge can be our haven, or we wander, free from the curse's chains. His hand covered hers over his heart. As long as we're together. Luca jumped onto the bed, nuzzling between them, a symbol of their beginning. Outside, the forest whispered approval, the woods alive with possibility. Elara felt peace settle, wounds healed, futures bright. But as sleep claimed them, a distant howl pierced the dawn. Jasper, rallying remnants. The bond stirred warning, one final stand. Yet in Ronan's arms, Elara knew. They'd face it united, their love the ultimate weapon. In the days that followed, they prepared, the pack stronger, the bond unbreakable. Elara embraced her role, learning shifter lore, her art capturing their world. When Jasper struck again, it was swift defeat, his rivalry crumbling under their unity. Years later, in a cabin expanded for their growing family, Luca, now a young wolf, pups of their own, They looked back on the storm that started it all. Fate had bound them, love had freed them. In the supernatural shadows, they found eternal light, together forever.